Sup everybody, this is Karak with ACG, and you may know me from my award-winning sex education books, Prepare to be Disappointed 1 through 3, but sometimes I also review video games, and today is a special title near and dear to my heart. I mean, it's got everything: point-and-click gameplay, 1990s time frame, possible murder, possible paranormal activity, and a possible journalism major that rides around on a pink Harley and smokes enough cigarettes that she probably has different cancers battling each other to build a tumor fort in her throat. Her name is Kathy Rain, and luckily, so is the game, so it's pretty easy. And surprise, it's not coming from the point-and-click adventure generator center that we know as Wadjet Games. Nope, it's coming from Clifftop Games, a company I know for approximately nothing. So it's our first time. Let's be gentle. As always, this review is caffeinated, which means blazing into your brains at the speed of blathering, with no remorse for those left behind. As always, if you like the video, maybe subscribe. So here's the review for Kathy Rain for the PC. Sons of Just a Little Anarchy, the world's smallest chair for the world's biggest dude, and accosting dying people to rub in bad life events right before they shuffle off their mortal coil. Graphics are up first. So, while Kathy Rain does deliver the low-resolution affair that I think we've all grown accustomed to in other indie point-and-click titles, what little pizzazz it has, it spins on some unique aspects that I actually wasn't expecting and results in a little less visual pizza dish on the screen than we're probably accustomed to in point-and-click adventure games. For example, fast travel is done via this side-scrolling scene of Kathy hogging it out in the wild, her helmet hair firmly packed into a pretty detailed helmet, and the environment reflecting whatever weather is currently occurring in the game. It's a cool little touch, and it's multiple little touches like that, which alleviate many gamers' groans when finding out that little splot of color in the game is a very important plot point you've missed 30 times prior every time you go to a specific location. Artistically, the designs don't stray so far from the expected, with various locations usually somewhat basic, with a keen eye at only a couple of those locations having the characters be so small that they appear like 6 pixels of irregularly colored blobs you have to control. But I can't lie, there are a couple odd bits though, like a few perspective errors in the art and the odd design decisions, like the time I broke into a dying man's hospital by performing possibly the worst and most irresponsible act in a point-and-click game ever, and found what looked like Big Daddy Diesel sitting politely reading a book on a damn kindergarten chair. It was an odd perspective issue and it caused a chuckle. Now, while that happened a couple times, some areas look very good, later areas in particular, like the very unique opening area at a lake cabin or the eerie home of a grandmother that's turned into a visual dirge for a lost loved one. Kathy doesn't stretch its legs too much graphically, I really can't say that it does, but it does try a few new things with some surprising success. I would say, as a package, it's pretty good. Sound, music, and voice.
Freckles, the old farm cat, used to love that thing. Grandpa in his Air Force uniform looks to be in his early 20s.
Sweet butt incoming!
Like hell I am. I'm nobody's property.
You sure? Doesn't she look like a sweet butt? Little slut? I think she does.
And as you guys know in this, sound is always up first. Now, since a point-and-click game is about as action-packed as a Call of Duty menu, there isn't a ton of action sound effects going on. Phones ring, people putter around, and occasionally a door creaks. Expected, but not exceptional. The action sounds here are okay, and don't have any sampling or roughness issues that makes them hard on the ears. Environmental sounds, though, are really good. It really doesn't matter if it's the patter of rain on the roof of a home far past its years and sort of sighing a bit with age, or the wind whipping through trees between the aged tombstones of a town that seems like it has nothing left to lose. The environmental sounds are really excellent, and mixed accordingly, they do a great job solidifying the atmosphere. Music. Yeah, so this is very hit and miss. While the long drawn out, fairly simply constructed synth tracks work wonderfully to sort of invoke a mood of darkness around this character and an investigation concerning her grandpa suddenly turning into a piece of broccoli rolling around in a wheelchair. But it was the other, more comical with digital percussion tracks that really just did not work for me. In your student dorm while hacking a computer, that tune playing there grated on me the wrong way instantly, as did much of the music that played when Kathy ripped across the countryside in her pink motorcycle. While the subtle shifts in mood and tone occur almost perfectly, and with a bit of discordant rhythm in the synth tracks, and I've always liked that in suspense or horror movies, the other tracks seemed locked into locations and without the ability to really change or evolve or mature. I mean, music by its very definition has to change a little bit, and sadly, when it came to those, just didn't feel that way. As a whole, very hit and miss. Voice. Oh dear God. Realizing a point-and-click adventure game is going to have voices for all the characters really remind you that these games usually Mary Matlin their way through speechless reading encounters in the very games where there is going to be a fucking ton of reading. Luckily here, everyone and everything is voiced, and for the most part, I'd say voiced pretty well. From Kathy's sort of petulant pipings, always with a bit of "I need you to know who I am" attitude, to the wonderfully voiced town drunk with his really questionable exploits. Almost everyone nails their lines. Now, there are a couple times when you realize, oh shit, this dude is just reading straight from the paper, which of course results in words with no emotion, questions sound like statements, and statements sounding like an in-depth discussion with someone with the temperament of Soundwave in the Transformers cartoons. Luckily, since you play as Kathy, you mostly hear her, and though some lines are almost disturbingly blunt and a little bit oddly timed or written, they're still well done as a complete package, and they sort of emote from that character. I guess when you think about it, voicing a game like this is a gold mine, always ready to be plundered. I'd say that they visited a couple times, but didn't dig deep enough. A missed opportunity? Maybe. Still incredibly welcome with what we got? Yeah, for sure. Gameplay. It began a long time ago. That sounds like pretty much every story, but this one actually did. After the death of a grandparent, Kathy, the journalism major with an attitude like a brick, returns home. Quickly, she uncovers a series of events that's both mysterious and directly connected to her. This is all told within a really interesting weaving of plot lines of family betrayal, mental illness, and Kathy's love of the word fuck. As you're exploring, investigating, and of course always showing up where you don't belong, there are some things you're going to notice pretty quickly in this title. Well, these games are based in our deepest kleptomaniac desires, with the heroes and heroines sort of sucking up every loose item like a two-legged Hoover vacuum. Kathy Rain handles inventory really well, and even more intelligently, it handles the item and location puzzles well. Almost never did I look at the inventory and think to myself, okay, I need to mix the hamsters with the duct tape and the abacus to make a wheelbarrow to carry the body into the sheep shaver's office. Most items simply worked as they should, and this is something that, yes, even the luminaries of other point-and-click adventure titles sometimes run afoul of. Now, that being said, that means your experience with the game is not bound by a ton of wondering why you can't progress, and that's when you realize Kathy Rain is actually a pretty goddamn long game, all things considered. It's a good 7+ hours, at least it was for me, and much of that was actually playing and talking with folks. Now, if you skipped everything they said, you could get through it faster, but you also probably wouldn't be able to figure out the puzzles as easy. It's not too damn shabby when you also realize that the story is just really interesting and it's backed up by solid mechanics. Now, it's no stranger to the trappings of point-and-click adventure games, though. A couple places you're going to return to like a dog to vomit, sniffing around the same damned area, trying to find that one thing that you might miss, or talk to that one person for the 40th time because you found that shiny new trinket that they might know something about. You know, that's a given and a remnant of these games' basic if-then design schemes that we see. That's okay, and it's something sort of expected. In fact, these games are more about what you can do within those boundaries. And in my opinion, Kathy does pretty well. Fun factor. Listen, it's a point-and-click adventure game, so don't be too surprised when you're rubbing, ratcheting, touching, fondling, forefingering, and click-clacketing everything in the damn game. Once you're okay with that, you're left with a tremendously good story, a subtle hand at the mechanics of point-and-click, and a way for the narrative to negotiate the strengths and weaknesses as it moves from start to finish. You have all that here, but it's not coke hookers and night out on the town in Vegas while wearing a disguise kind of fun. It's more sort of sitting down to watch your favorite TV series with some friends fun. It's a bit comfortable, but in its delivery, that's where it matters most, and I think it delivers incredibly well. So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale, and this is a buy. And for you folks that need a numeric, that's a 4 on a 1 to 4 scale. It's interesting, fully voiced, has great length, and that sentence is exactly how my wife describes me. Anyway, it's very good. I suggest if you like these kind of games, you go out and get it. As always, if you like this review, give it a thumbs up. Maybe check out the Reddit, the Patreon, what have you. If you dislike the review, give it a thumbs down, and peace out.